Hey guys, we have another episode of Make Your Mark podcast, and we have an amazing guest here this week. Her name is Martina Zorc, and oh my goodness, she has done so many different things previously and in her business right now, and helping so many of her clients. In fact, she has a PhD, guys, right, in international space law. Like mind blowing, right? She is a business strategist and a mentor to visionary entrepreneurs on an exponential growth path. She's also the creator of the One Big Win method and the first choice authority formula. Martina's work with clients focus on skyrocketing them from superstar levels on income desirability, impact, leadership, and lifestyle, where not even the sky is the limit, guys. Right? So, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things here, a lot of things that Martina's done, because we had a conversation offline just before we jumped on camera. And oh my goodness, she is mind blowing, guys. Right? So, please welcome Dr. Martina Zorc. Oh my goodness, thank you for coming onto the show.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Thrilled. Hi, everyone. I am so looking forward to this conversation. I've been for a while, ever since I first saw you share your story of how you got your first big break with that big stretch, which resonated with me so much and inspired actually my own as well. So I'm really, really happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I'm super excited to have you on here. We have known each other for a while. We tried to figure out where we met each other. We don't know, right? Somewhere online we met each other for sure, right? And so with everything that you've done, everything that I've learned about you, I am so looking forward to this episode. I know it's going to be mind-blowing for everyone listening. And so before we get into the nitty-gritty, Martina, I would love for you to just, very quickly, you've done a lot of different things, right? We can speak all day about it. We almost did. What got you to this point in business, right? Because we know that it doesn't happen overnight. We all have a journey. So what did the journey look like for you?
Yes, definitely didn't happen overnight. I've been in business for 14 years now, and maybe it's even a little more. I stopped counting almost, but definitely it's very different today than it was at the beginning. And I I learned the hard way to really understand how things should be played in business to create the best possible outcome. Because at the very start, I remember having many sleepless nights and moments of discomfort and doubting myself. I would generate 10,000 here and there, but then for months, nothing. I was exhausted. I would work until 1 a.m. It just didn't click. And I would invest in myself all the time, learn so much, and it's something didn't quite click, right? And so it all started actually at two events, digital publishing events in New York, that I felt called to attend. I still remember that Sunday when I was browsing the internet and I saw these two events available, and I just, in that instant, I knew I was going to go, and it changed everything for me. That was in May, that trip, and then by September I left my job, and I had zero business acumen in reality, no contacts, no savings. I was completely green, but I just knew that I couldn't stay in that job. And I wouldn't recommend that necessarily to other people. It took a lot of courage and a lot of support from my family. But I felt like, even though I was really grateful for the job and the people were amazing, the job itself didn't feel fulfilling to me. And I remember saying to myself, if you stay here within a year, you'll be depressed, right?
Wow.
And that wasn't an option for me. So I left in the middle of the recession pretty much. And I started this journey that was very tumultuous, to say the least. But that led me to discovering that you actually need a very holistic approach to business. You need the inner and the outer strategies of success. Like the inner strategies are your mindset, your energy, your urgency, how you show up, your leadership, how you process emotions and not let them derail you. That's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, on the outer strategy side, it's all the expertise of the how to, right? How do you position yourself? What business model do you choose? How do you set your offers up so that they make sense and they allow you to live a life of freedom and fulfillment and impact, and also a lot of wealth and abundance? How do you enroll? How do you attract the most amazing dream clients? There's just so much to know in business, right? And so eventually I became the business strategist and mentor that I wish I had at the beginning. And I encountered a lot of amazing people on my journey, and every single one of them helped me so much. I even worked with a billionaire mentor for 2 years. She changed my life. Such an inspiring woman. I still want to hire her one-on-one at some point. But really, it was the entire journey that led me to this point where now I can be the rock for my clients and show them how they can skyrocket their results, go for record-breaking months, really believe in themselves, have the urgency, really focus on the strategies that work today, because we know things change constantly online, constantly in marketing and sales. So we need to be able to adapt and pivot and innovate. And I'm very pioneering at heart. It's just who I am. I've always been this way. And so when I allowed myself to really be me without any, concerns about what they will think of me, or is this good enough, or any perfectionism, or any stuff of the old stuff, right, that can come up for a lot of people. And I let that go, and I really started having fun being me in business, and being really urgent and stretching myself into new heights, new possibilities, new levels of creativity, discovering hidden reserves of resourcefulness and all sorts of things. That's when everything started coming together. So definitely, I do know that, like, that phrase, new level, new devil, like it's always like that, right? Like the challenges will never stop and they will get bigger, but my capacity, our capacity also expands on this journey. And so I am having a blast. It's the best time of my life. Of course, that doesn't mean that everything is 10 out of 10 yet, all the areas or everything. I see so much growth, right? But I love the journey, and I celebrate every little stepping stone. And I just enjoy it. And I'm so grateful that we get to have the opportunities that we have today with the technology, with the connectivity of the world, with everything that's available, all the knowledge. Now we even have AI tools to facilitate and accelerate the process of certain tasks. There's such an abundance of opportunities out there that I would love to see every entrepreneur flourish and rejoice and just change the world, because there is no more reason to be in struggle or worried about existential problems or focusing on how am I going to pay my bills, when we can all be incredibly successful every single day.
Absolutely. I love that, Martina. Oh my goodness, you mentioned so much stuff right there. Now, one of the things I do want to kind of talk about is you mentioned, you like to get people thinking outside the box. You are very much like that, having a different perspective, being innovative, like being creative, all these things that you need to be as a business owner, because that is the one thing that's going to keep you going, right? And your business going. And also the fact that you said that, there's AI, there's all this stuff happening with tech, right? And you have to be super, super creative and on top of your game in order for your business to carry on and last, right? Otherwise, you're going to lose your business, right? Like a lot of people did during the pandemic, right? So you got to keep up with all of that. Now, you use the word stretch, right? Being able to stretch. Now, what does that mean to Martina and her clients?
Wonderful, thank you. So let me segue what you said about AI first, because it's actually it's a huge stretch right there.
Yeah.
Not in the maybe the most general sense of the word of what most people would think about, but this real stretch is in being more of who you are, and showing it and showing it and sharing it with the world. Because here's the thing, AI is as amazing as it is, it's gonna create a world where really quickly everything can feel copy pasted.
Right.
Right. And so if we want to stand out long term, we will need to find ways to infuse more of our personality, our values, our character, our energy into the copy that we create, into videos, into audios, into all sorts of content that we put out there, because otherwise it's going to start feeling generic and as if everybody else already shared it. Because it's not about information, it's about touching people deeply. And I call this transformation marketing. So that like something moves within them as they go through your content, and they come to the decision about purchasing from you already transformed. Right? It's not about the 5 steps to something, or because the how-to content really doesn't sell. It can impress people, it can establish your credibility, but it doesn't move them beyond that, right? You get an applause, you don't get the dollars.
Right.
So what I'm really passionate about is holding space for my clients and holding them high so they can see the greatness, the magnificence of who they are. Even when they don't see it yet, I can already, as a mentor and visionary, I can see beyond, fortunately. And I show them this picture of the identity they're stepping into. And I'm getting chills, right, as I'm saying this, because I so believe in them, and they can borrow this belief and they can borrow this vision, and they can start running and sprinting and getting on this rocket ship, right, to really whole new levels of awareness and success and authenticity and expression and fun in their business, and ultimately freedom. So we're kind of like really busting through all the fears and the limiting beliefs. And that's why I invested a lot in also becoming a certified money coach throughout my journey, because it's a big part of all of it, right? It's a very holistic journey at the end of the day, as I said. And so that is one big part of the stretch, like having the courage to be you, and to expose yourself with visibility, right? To expose yourself to maybe criticism or certain people who are obviously very wounded, and that's why they lash out on you on social media or whatever. But that's part of growing into your leader, to know that this is their stuff, right? You don't need to be hurt by anything you read or see. You can evaluate if there's any truth, if you can improve, take the good in it, but never let it derail you, or let alone keep you in hiding. It's time to stop hiding. And by the way, I don't know if you are kind of like following what's going on astrologically in the world, but we just stepped into, and this is just a hobby of mine, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in business, because we just stepped into a new 18-month period where the axis of the North and South nodes moved from Taurus and Scorpio to Aries and Libra, which means, in plain English, right? Which means that we are going to feel a lot more of this very courageous energy, entrepreneurial spirit, be very innovative, pioneering, really rely on ourselves, stop waiting, stop relying so much on others, even though we still collaborate, but we show self-initiative. It's an era where we really step up as leaders, and we ask ourselves, who are we, right? Who am I? Who do I want to be in this world? What kind of a legacy do I want to create? What kind of a business am I building? So that's kind of like where we're moving into. And there is this huge acceleration and speed, right? The energy of Taurus is slow and steady wins the race. It's very
Right.
stable, it's fixed energy, right? Aries is different. Aries is just fearless. It's fierce. It's like, it's really a quick start. It's daring in a way, right? And so I'm actually encouraging all of my clients to start incorporating that into their messaging, because what works today in sales is to really go into your vision for your clients or your future clients, right? You need to move them. There needs to be urgency. If everything is too generic or too long-term or too, it's something that they've heard a zillion times before, and there's no reason for them to make a decision now, they won't.
Right.
So let's see how this all plays out. I'm going to be really curious to observe, but definitely it could be like a really great idea to experiment a bit in your messaging and incorporate more of these Aries energy elements into your copy, into your message everywhere.
That's really interesting. That you basically use astrology, right, to kind of help with your messaging and getting the right clients and marketing and things like that. And you also help your clients to think in that way, which is a completely different perspective altogether. Like I've never heard of that from any business strategist, right?
Yeah, well, yes. And it's because actually it's not something that I would focus on. I'm not, as I said, I'm not an expert astrologer or anything like that. It's just my hobby. But I do believe in an interdisciplinary, holistic approach.
Right.
And so that's part of it, right? If I get an information of what's going on in the world that is actually relevant, that is timely, of course you want to incorporate it into your message. It's the same principle that we would use when we pitch the media, right? When we want more publicity, because we look at things that are timely right now. What is it that is actually happening? And so you pick up these pieces of information that can distinguish you from the rest, right? That's the same idea as with the artificial intelligence. Like you want to find new innovative ways to stand out and really have fun with it, play with it, adapt it to your personality, your message, your business, right? There's a zillion ways to play with this, and
Yes.
it's just an example. So really, to maybe if I can add just to the stretching question, just
Yeah.
really quickly, may I? So what I wanted also to add is that the stretch really is also something that can be used as in terms of a project, right? You put yourself on a stretch or a sprint that is 90 days or 100 days long. Sometimes it's 75. I'm sure you heard about 75 hard from Andy
Yes.
Frisella,
Uh-huh.
right? So these are all examples of stretches, and you decide what do you want to accomplish within that time frame. The key is that there's consistency. You do this thing every single day, or maybe it's a series of things. And because you want momentum,
Yes.
you want accountability, you want tracking, you want to develop more mental toughness, more trust in yourself that what you're saying will actually happen. That's
Right.
also part of leadership. And that gives you so much power. Even if it's not related directly to your business results, it is. So even if you do 75 hard, the result is that you show up differently in your business. Now, if you choose a stretch that is directly impacting your business, for example, some of my clients choose to do 100 days of videos, of daily videos, or maybe they declare that they are going to do 100 videos within 100 days. And they can mix and match and batch and so on, right? Or maybe they declare to host their first summit And that's a big stretch for them. Or to finish their book. I have a client who signed up for my group program. And within a couple of weeks, I'm not kidding, she declared to write and publish her book that she put on the back burner for years, but it was a secret dream of hers, because she has a very strong vision of what kind of a multimedia book she wants to create. And she manifested a publisher within days.
Wow.
It was unbelievable, and that's the power of stretching yourself. Like, all sorts of opportunities come together. And when I meet my clients in offline workshops and we work on this, and I have them choose their stretch and declare it in front of everybody, and first and foremost for themselves, right? And I see how, like, they get hot, like their temperature changes, like their cheeks are all of a sudden like blushing, like it's just, there are these physical reactions. That's how you know that you're stretching yourself enough. If it doesn't feel like something is going on in your body and it feels exciting and scary and all of it together, you're not playing big enough. Wow. Go back to the drawing board. And that's what I coach people at as well. We work on that to find the big enough stretch for them that actually will move the needle in their business, in their life. And then we find ways for how to leverage this, because this is where strategy comes in. And that's why I call it the one big win method, because in reality, you need one of these big, bold and exciting stretches to then leverage in the media with a lot of different stories, in events, in strategic partnerships. Like, literally one of these can catapult you to a whole new level.
Wow, I love that. It's funny because you use the word stretch, right? And there's several different ways of describing, saying what you exactly said, right? So, like, even people have set their own goals or challenges to get them outside of their comfort zone, right? Because they know it's going to make a big difference to their business, right? But I love the way that you gave those examples on stretching, right? And what kind of results it can actually bring and what is brought to your clients already, right? It's insane. Now, I want to go back and touch on the holistic side, right? You mentioned this a couple of times already. And you've mentioned even offline that we need to make sure that we are successful holistically, right, as well as on the outside. And a lot of it has to do with the mindset and things like that. And we always hear that from different coaches, right? We've got to make sure the mindset is right? And all of this kind of things. But what does it mean? I guess altogether, it's not just about the mindset holistic, right? What does it mean to really be in touch with your holistic side and get to know yourself on that level before anything on the outside really changes?
Yes, that's super important. And all I can say is that, you start with getting aware of how you show up, how you think, what kind of language you use with yourself and out loud, what you write. Like, when I read my clients' questionnaires before we get started, I can already see in what space they're at, right? Like, what is their mind space? What is their level of leadership currently? What needs to shift before they can even create outside success? Because it's like those are the exact stopping points that are holding them back. They are holding themselves back by not shifting yet. And it starts with awareness. And so I have them observe throughout the day. I just told the client the other day to keep like a little notebook with her at all times. And just as she goes through the day, to just write down the thoughts that are disempowering, or the phrases or words that she would use that are disempowering and really just really victimy, or anything that is not really helping her move forward in her business and life. so that then she can instantly flip the switch in the sense that she can rephrase, right? And for example, like in all those moments when somebody would say to themselves, oh, I can't take this anymore, right? This is too much. I already have, my plate is already too full. Why now? I can't. Like, this is unjust or whatever, unfair. all sorts of like this kind of languaging. Like when that happens, you just need to stop yourself and look at it from a different point of view, shift the perspective and go into, well, actually, no, like this is all about my capacity as a leader. How can I make it work?
Right.
Because there is a way, and there's 8 billion people in the world and somebody knows. Right. So like, there is no reason why we would be, why we would stay stuck somewhere where we don't want to be anymore. So awareness is the first step, and be bold enough, or I would say maybe courageous enough to be very, very truthful with yourself, very sincere, very, like you look yourself in the eye and like really, really, have that honest moment of truth. Like, where am I right now? And what is holding me back that I want to transform? So that is for sure the beginning, because then it's a daily practice. I can tell you that for sure, just knowing something mentally is not enough. I remember when I started reading Wallace D. Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich, right? Which is the Bible for abundance. That is like it's a must read for, I think, every entrepreneur. But I remember when I first started reading it years ago, it would make sense on a mental level, right? In my head, it like I understood everything, and it made logical sense. And yes, mentally, I had a check mark, right? But I didn't feel it. I didn't embody it. I didn't live it yet. And it would take time to actually, this awareness, this wealth consciousness, to start sipping through my entire being, so that I eventually was living and breathing these concepts, and I didn't even need to read it anymore because I was being it, right? So that's the difference. Like you need to let certain truths just get deeper from it cannot stop at your mind. The mind is powerful, but it can also be a great enemy, because we have all sorts of thoughts that are not helping us every single day. They are stopping us. They are like defense mechanisms that want to keep us where we're at, the status quo, right? And so we need to actually use the wisdom of our entire body, or bodies, because we have different energy bodies, and really, find ways to use them all, to use all of this wisdom, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when we don't know how yet, we don't see the entire path. That's the whole point. That is the journey. We just need to see the first next step, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, like, what helped me the most, honestly, is to have gone through a leadership training. It was 4 months. It was incredibly intense. It was the most intense program I have ever done in my entire life, and it transformed me completely. And I'm happy to share with anybody which program it is, but it was like, it was the toughest thing I've gone through, and probably the most transformational. So I'm eternally grateful. And just like what I observed, what came through for me, with very simple exercises, with very simple practices, that like, it didn't make any logical sense why so much resistance would surface. Like, it was so revealing, because then once I moved past that, everything started shifting. And the interesting part, and this is like, I want this to share as a takeaway for everybody. Like, as I was in this process of the 4-month training, it was a deep dive immersion. I didn't quite observe the changes, the breakthroughs as I went along. They were certain signs and signals, and it was interesting. It was at moments there were ups and downs. It was really like a very interesting experience, but I didn't quite get the power of it until the very last days of the 4 months. So if I had quit, and there were moments when I almost, if I had a different character, because I'm not a quitter, but if I had a different character, I would have quit.
Right.
And I'm so glad that I didn't, because in the very last moment, it's more like, it was almost like, you know, the 5 minutes to midnight, right? Like that
Right.
last stretch, like everything shifted, and I feel a completely different leader. The level of trust I have in myself is something I never experienced in this way before. And it's just one example. So I would recommend to everybody to really, really take the time to work on their leadership, because it pays off in spades. Like it then shows up in your results, in your income, in the consistency of it, in how you show up, in what kind of a strategic partner you make, in everything, right? Like every single aspect of your life is affected positively when you do this internal work. And it's not enough to just go to single workshops or read books or meditate, right? Like I had some friends that were convinced that just meditating was enough for them to transform. And maybe for some people it is. For me, definitely not. And I haven't really seen examples of that being enough, because it's about how you put this in practice.
Right.
That's the whole point. Because if you just know something and you feel something, it doesn't mean you're going to live by it.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can still self-sabotage. So it's a very, very profound topic. It's incredibly impactful. And of course, I think for any professional, for any entrepreneur, it's really amazing, if we go back to the messaging part, to make sure that we include in our messaging, in the marketing communication, right? That we include things that will attract the type of client that has this leadership in them already.
Right.
Because these are the most fun clients. This is the most amazing up-leveling work that we can do. But until we shift ourselves and we see where are the patterns that need transforming and so on, we cannot even recognize that in others, or understand what to put in the copy to attract the right type of person.
Right.
So everything has multiple implications.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Like there's so many golden nuggets you've dropped, Martina. Oh my goodness. Like I feel like we can speak on and on and on about different business aspects and topics. But I know at this point, the audience are probably thinking, oh my goodness, I need to speak to Martina. How do I get in contact with her? So where can people go to connect with you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. You can just type my name and you'll find me. Not hard to find. I do have a website as well that will be restructured and refreshed as well. So if you want, I can share the link. But I think you'll find me either way on social media. And please do connect. I'm happy to have a conversation with you to personalize some of these aspects and strategies, because here's what I believe, like connection is currency, right? That's one of my mentors always repeats that. And it's true. And the transformation comes sometimes from one conversation, from 5 minutes of sharing an insight, or one aha, right? And you never know where it comes from. So to stay open, to stay in connection, to really be in service to others. That was one of the biggest shifts for me when I started focusing on my audience and in giving even more, and having that mindset, how can I give even more today?
Yeah.
Like, and not even focusing on like my own goals necessarily. And I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but like the whole idea is that you're so much in service of to your people, to how you can support them and help them get what they want, that you're not obsessing over how do I look, or is this perfect enough, or like even when we have like an income goal, the first place to go is, what do I want for my audience? What's my vision for them? What can I offer them that will completely hook them up, right? And then from that point, we can create a strategy, but we cannot start with, oh, I want to make this much money. How can I make it the fastest?
Right.
That's the difference. It's an internal energetic shift of how generous of a leader you are. And when you turn on the volume on this generosity, that's when all the goodness starts happening. It's just unbelievable. It's like magic.
Wow. Martina, thank you so much for dropping so many golden nuggets. Everything that you said, oh my God, it's mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing and 100% true as well. I totally agree with everything that you've just said, from the holistic to the outside. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for coming on to the show, Martina. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kay, and thank you everyone for your attention. And I wish all of you amazing stretches and sprints and incredible record-breaking results in all areas of your life.
Fantastic. Thanks once again, Martina.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.